Alright everybody, welcome back! So today we're taking a look at another plane that I actually really enjoy playing. This is the F-4EJ Kai. This plane's been in the game for quite some time by this point. It's been well over a year, I know that for a fact. But it's received some very interesting changes as of late, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at it, see how it's doing, and talk about some changes that are actually going to be happening going forward as well. Now, the F-4EJ Kai, of course, it was added back in up at direct hit, I believe, and it was added with only AIM-9Ps and AIM-7E2s. Now, this plane saw service for a very long time in real life, so it has a lot of upgrade potential. We've already seen some of that coming forward, of course, so it gained access to AIM-7Fs recently. This patch, it gained access to AIM-9Ls, and it still has 2 more sets of missiles that it can gain going forward as well. In the meantime, though, of course, what this means is this is the only plane in the game that has access to both the F-16's radar, 4 AIM-7Fs, and 4 AIM-9Ls on the same platform. However, with that being said, the Phantom is kind of dated at this point. It doesn't really, it can't compete with the new 4th gen platforms like the MiG-29, the F-16, the F-14 in terms of flight performance. So you have similar missiles, but on a worse platform. Now, at the moment, of course, it's sitting at a battle rating of 11.3. You can see I'm actually in a full down tier at 10.3 in this game. This is what it's going to be like for the time being. And it absolutely curb stomps in these down tiers. So for those of y'all who saw the VR changes and wondering why a Phantom was going to 11.7, you can see it right now. 4 AIM-9Ls, 4 AIM-7Fs with the hardest radar to notch in the game is very, very scary, even if the plane itself isn't all that spectacular when it comes to flight performance. So you get, of course, you also get the Vulcan. I'm not a huge fan of the Vulcan right now. Its damage is pretty lackluster. I got pretty lucky right there and actually took out that Jaguar. But you're going to get a lot of hits and crits with it, and especially with a plane like this, which isn't really that maneuverable. One of the differences between the F-4EJ and the EJ Kai and the F-4E and F-4F is the fact that it doesn't get the Agile Eagle upgrade. For those of y'all who don't know, those are the slats that are on the front of the F-4E that deploy when you're pulling. That gives it a lot of AOA and turning ability, which you can see I just don't have. Now, it still turns relatively well at low fuel states, so if you have to dogfight, you want to make sure you're at low fuel like I'm at right now. That's the only reason why I'm able to get away with this. And AIM-9L versus F-104 with no flares, that's just kind of a yikes for me. But like I was saying, you can kind of dogfight in a down tier like this right here at low fuel. But if you're carrying more than about 6 minutes of fuel, and especially in an up tier, you do not want to be trying to dogfight anyone. As you can see, AIM-7Fs are lethal. They're going to be your main weapon, I'd say, for killing stuff, just in general. They have been acting a little wonky. I had trouble gathering footage because of that. They've just been kind of spazzing out, going for random targets constantly. So you do got to keep that in mind. Now, here we're in what you're going to be seeing going forward. There's a lot of F-14s, F-4Js, you're going to be seeing F-16s, of course, MiG-29s. This right here is the Matchmaker that I expect once it goes to 11.7. Like I said, I don't know when that's going to happen, so this video, for all I know, they might go ahead and drop it the day I drop this video. And in that case, then just this part of the video is going to be what's actually relevant from now on. So you have, like I said, a platform with much worse maneuverability. I would recommend taking lower fuel state than you might otherwise do. Like you might take a full fuel load in the top tier matches, when you're fighting 10.3 or I guess 10.7 going forward. But just in general, you're going to want to give yourself every advantage you can because you don't have the high-speed AOA that the F-4E has. You do have a great radar and you have great missiles, but if they're on your 6, then there's really nothing you can do. Now you can still use I guess terrain masking thing that we talked about in my How to Survive top tier video. You can see I used that to defeat these AIM-7Fs coming at me, and that's really the only way you're going to be surviving in these up tiers. I would not recommend climbing, because you're going to have a lot of people throwing the same missiles you got, and they all have equal or better radars than you do. As you can see, especially at these low speeds, there's really nothing I can do. I just get lucky, because my friendly kills them right there for me, and I don't actually get killed. But, by the way, please stop rigging props in the top tier. It's not funny anymore. It hasn't been funny for the last few years. It hurts your team. If that player hadn't up tiered his prop, there might have been another F-16 that could have killed one of my teammates and won them the match. Anyways, so you're in this difficult position where you're in a plane that has better missiles than a lot of the stuff at the BR, or more of them in this case, but worse performance. It's kind of like I guess kind of like the Harrier at a lower BR, where the performance really isn't there. The plane's airframe itself isn't that great, but it has access to really advanced missiles for the battle rating. Now, when you're fighting F-16s, you can, at high speeds, pull inside of them. I have been doing that pretty consistently just because the F-4EJ is more responsive at high speeds than the F-16. It feels really sluggish. And of course, you do get access to the AIM-9L, which is pretty flare resistant, has great range. Like you say, I launched this from almost 5 kilometers right here. And admittedly, he is slow, but it's still very impressive that a missile at sea level is able to hit this. You get access to the AIM-7F, of course, which is going to be, like I said, your main weapon. But the airframe itself is pretty limited. Now, if you're looking for something to grind the future top tiers for Japan, like putting a talisman like we talked about in some of my other videos before, I would actually recommend this plane just because it does have some more room for upgrades. It can get access to the AIM-7M, which should get fixed at some point, so it's actually better than the AIM-7F, hopefully. And regardless, it also gets access to the AIM-3 air-to-air missile, which is supposed to be better than the AIM-7M. So it's not going to be getting any worse. Only question is going to be the Matchmaker. Just because I'm not sure what 11.7 is going to be looking like next patch or, going forward. I know that 11.3 has been getting those down tiers relatively frequently, so if the Matchmaker just shifts, you might start seeing 10.7 down tiers for all the 10.7 planes, like, of course, the new Premium Draken, the F1 of, well, actually, no. Well, the F104G, in the German tree, all that kind of stuff. But to be honest, I just don't see that happening. I see more 11.3 getting down tier to the 10.3, and then 11.7 just being stuck into 12.0. So you do got to keep that in mind, that you're going to have to deal with much better airframes going forward. This plane is still excellent. I'd highly recommend giving it a shot, especially when it's at 11.3, just because when you get those down tiers, I have had several games, like several, where I've gotten a down tier and I've gotten 7, 8, 9 kills. I almost had a 10 kill match, just because this plane is just really oppressive in a full down tier. It's still relatively competitive just because of the weapons, but if an F-16 or an F-14 gets in your 6 and they're not absolute trash like this F-14 is right here, you are going to die. There is nothing that you can do. Now, if they spin themselves out like that, then, well, you might have a chance. So, definitely, I would recommend giving this a shot. It's going to be the only plane that Japan is getting for the time being. F2 and F-15 are a bit away. So, hope you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It's a little bit of a different commentary style than usual for me, but hope you enjoy, and peace.